Benny presents himself as somebody who's trying to get to the truth, right? The reality is that he is a purveyor of misinformation and disinformation, and has been for years, shamelessly and relentlessly. This guy said that the 2020 election was rigged. He said the 2022 election was rigged. He said the FBI admitted that Mar-a-Lago documents raid was over nothing. He said a deep state cabal engages in predictive programming by showing shows like The Simpsons to announce their satanic plans to the world.
In today's video, Brian Tyler Cohen absolutely crushes Benny Johnson in a heated debate on Chris Cuomo's show. You're going to see Brian push back with receipts, calling out the election lies, the Tenet Media Russia mess, and that bogus tax white people more spin, while Benny falls back on, "That's just my opinion." Let's dive in and watch Brian shut this down.
And you had Bob Costas on before, and he mentioned the phrase, there's a profit motive, right? And the reality is that's why Benny does it. I mean, Benny benefited to the tune of how many thousands of dollars when a Russian influence campaign, Tenet Media, paid you to say whatever it is that you went out there and said, which is very similar to what you're saying right now, which is that that the Democratic Party is looking to incite a race war against white people. It's the same exact verbiage that you were using then when you were getting paid by the Russians to do it, and that you're using right now. So it's been a long stretch of disinformation.
I get the allegation. Let Benny give a response. Then I want to go to break. I want to keep talking to you guys if you have more time. But Benny, please respond before we go to break.
So first off, on the Russia allegations, the DOJ and Merrick Garland said that there was absolutely no Russian money exchange. We were doing business with an American company. That investigation, as far as I know, is still ongoing. And what you've just said there is defamatory and libelous. Now,
it's not defamatory
to say that. On the question, it absolutely is.
That Tenet Media paid
absolutely.
You, Tim
It absolutely
Pool,
is
and two other
defamatory
people.
And libelous, and Merrick Garland has personally cleared us all of wrongdoing, myself, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin. But let me ask you a quick question. You're saying that I want to stoke a race war. Well, Zoran Mandami, who wants to be the mayor of New York City and is the odds-on favorite mayor of New York City, Democrat candidate for mayor, says that he wants to tax white people more. Are you in favor of that, Brian?
I don't even know what you're talking about. It doesn't even sound real.
It's a campaign platform. This is wild. It's a campaign
His campaign platform is to tax white people more than non-white people.
What? No. Yes. In the
tax
awkward position of defending Zoran Mandami, I'm going to go to break. But he didn't say tax white people more. He said we have to look to shift the tax burden to whiter neighborhoods that are more affluent and shift the burden from lower income benefits. Look, it didn't play well. Benny's right to jump on it, but I got to correct the record, even though I don't cover the race because my brother's in it. Benny's still hot that you said Russia paid him off when it was Tenet Media. Benny, let's just do this. Let's put a point on it so that I can ask you guys about something else. Did you know that Tenet Media got money from Russian operatives that was then used to pay you guys and other commentators? Did you know that, Benny?
No, Chris, and in a full report and a public disclosure by Merrick Garland himself, but also by the FBI, who contacted me and told me that I was the victim of a crime, Merrick Garland cleared all creators and hosts of wrongdoing, including myself, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin, along with other hosts.
Now, I always thought what was interesting about it was that they thought that the programming that you guys were doing anyway was good to advance the division cause in America that they covet. What do you think of that suggestion?
I was never told once, and never did once, and never will for the rest of my life follow orders from anyone for what I say on my show. I own 100% of my company, and I own 100% of the words that I say.
I agree. I'm saying that's what I always found interesting, that they were willing to pay for you what you wanted to say anyway, because I think they liked the effect of it.
Okay, pause. Benny Johnson says he owns his company, and every word he says, fine. But Chris Cuomo is right. People can still pay to boost what Benny Johnson says because it helps them. That's the issue. Brian Tyler Cohen isn't asking if Benny read a script. He's asking who gains when those talking points spread. If your claims keep getting amplified by groups that want more anger and division, that matters. So yeah, own your words, but also back them up. Bring clear facts, not dodges. This is where Brian Tyler Cohen looks stronger. He asks for proof, and Benny Johnson keeps sliding away from a straight answer.
But let's talk about how it channels into our daily
Chris,
life.
Can I ask a quick question then to Benny's point of him owning 100% of the words that he says? I brought up a bunch of lies that you had said before, like the 2020 election was rigged, the 2022 election was rigged, that the Mar-a-Lago raid was over nothing. Do you own all of those lies?
Well, those are opinions.
Those are opinions, and those are my opinions. And yes,
that the 2020 election was rigged and the 2022 election was rigged, and that the FBI Mar-a-Lago documents
it could be wrong, but it's still an opinion.
I have sources that in the coming days we're going to find out a great deal about the 2020 election, and we're going to find a considerable amount of criminality out of it.
Better not just be Michael Flynn.
How about
just be Michael Flynn, Benny. But let me ask you something else, because I believe that we're demonstrating
Chris,
a little bit of the
Chris,
toxicity.
if you're going to allow Brian to continue his line of questioning, please, if you would. This was so much fun to ask Brian about Zoran Mandami wanting to tax whiter people in white neighborhoods more.
I clarified it.
Do you agree with that, Brian?
I clarified
on
it.
his campaign website, and he doubled down on it on MSNBC. And I'm shocked that you don't know that. I thought you were somebody who really paid attention to these kind of things.
You're going to ask me if I'm in favor of taxing more affluent communities at a higher rate? Yes. Yeah. I'm of course in favor of taxing wealthier people at a higher rate.
Can you guys both agree?
Very quickly, I'm glad that we got that. Fine, you're entitled to your opinion. I think that it's wrong, and the DOJ, Harmeet Dillon, who's in charge of the Civil Rights Division, has publicly said that may be racist and may be criminal, but that's okay to admit that, Brian.
Well, then let me ask you about this. Let me ask you this.
Given the last, just really fast, since we're on Zoran Mandami and Chris
can't answer,
on him. We're asked the question.
I never even talk about him because my brother's running against him, Benny.
In the wake of the shooting in New York, that the police should be defunded because he believes that they're not queer enough. Those are his exact words. And he mocked NYPD officers crying in their cop cars. Do you agree with that?
Do I agree that we should defund the police? No. Let me ask you a question.
No, wait, hold on a second. I don't want to hear any more of your questions.
Do you adhere to your words from September of 2024, Benny?
I want to ask a question. Here's why, Brian.
No more. Brian, here's why. I promise. This one's a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Benny Johnson is trying to change the subject again. Brian Tyler Cohen cuts it off because we still don't have straight answers on the big claims. On the tax thing, Chris Cuomo already corrected it. Zoran Mamdani wasn't saying tax white people. He was talking about shifting more of the load to richer neighborhoods, which in New York are often whiter. That's a wealth point, not a race test. You can agree or disagree, but don't twist it. And on policing, more money by itself doesn't magically drop crime. It depends on strategy, trust, and what else the city is doing. Jobs, youth programs, mental health. We've all seen cities spend big and still struggle, and we've seen community programs help without just adding officers. So when Benny Johnson tries another gotcha, Brian Tyler Cohen says, not a good one, because it's the same move. Skip the hard questions, toss a new talking point. No, answer what you already said, then we can debate the rest.
Brian, it's not a good one. Here's the problem. It'll work. It'll work for the relative assessment of you guys, but I'm telling you, it's killing us. It's killing us. Because you guys, it's great competitive banter, and you're building your own followings, and you're formidable, each and all of you as a group. But I'm telling you, it is straining what we are supposed to be focused on, which is what are the common concerns. I'm telling you, nothing escapes. That Cincinnati fight that happened, the assault on the ground, I would have bet anything that I own that it was immediately going to be made into, hey, you know, if you flip the races, everybody would be upset about this. But when a bunch of black people beat up a couple of white people, nobody seems to care. When, you know, Benny, Brian, that's not the way regular people think. Regular people think a group of anybody beats up a couple of anybody, it's a problem. People in their ordinary lives don't make things about race. We make it about race in the media for advantage. And do you guys worry? Benny, do you ever worry? Man, I may be breaking something here that I can't fix. I may be getting people angry at people, and it's going to get out of control. I'm making them too angry. Do you ever worry about that?
By bringing light to what happened in Cincinnati, where a middle-aged couple was beaten savagely in an attempted murder. Did you see the woman, Chris, who got punched? She's probably the age of our mothers, and she got punched and leveled on the ground. It could have been anybody's mom. She's actually a single mother and a small business owner in Ohio. Here she is on the screen.
Yeah,
She's knocked out cold.
I'm not,
and she hit the
Benny, I'm not telling you, do you think it's wrong to punch a lady in the face? That's not what I'm saying. That's not the attention you brought to it. No. Of course we covered it.
Nobody
but that's
covered
not the point.
No,
it's
were
about
no stories
how
about
it was covered. Of course there were stories about it here at News Nation. But that's not the point. The point is how it's covered. Why is the race relevant?
News network.
Why is race relevant? Why do we have to make it relevant? Why do things have to be weaponized? That's what I don't understand.
Sure. Well, the DOJ has said that this may look like a race crime, and it may have looked like targeting, and so there may have been an element there. And it was confusing to people online because there was no authority saying anything about this. Now, if you check the actual crime statistics, you'll find that in this area of Cincinnati, crime has tripled from 2023. Reports that she couldn't even get an ambulance, Chris. And I don't think that any American wants to live in a zero-trust society. What we're describing here is a failed state, a zero-trust society.
I'm with you, but you called it terrorism. How is it terrorism?
I called what happened in New York terrorism.
Oh, I thought you called what happened in Cincinnati terrorism.
I think that what happened in New York was terrorism.
Well, terrorism in New York, I give you, because the guys seem to be advancing a political agenda, but not in Cincinnati.
That's right. That's right.
It just seemed to be bad people on the street in a group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that I framed that as terrorism, but I do think that it was a savage, brutal mob attack.
Yeah, I agree.
That took advantage, and nobody wants to live in a zero-trust society. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor. He's spoken with the victims. I haven't, and so I'm going to depend on what he has to say about this. There were no police officers there. The woman couldn't even get an ambulance. She is suffering horribly. And nobody wants that to be their mother laid out in the street. I mean, listen, this is a young man who clocked this woman in the jaw. There's no defense for it.
I know, but Benny, who's defending it? That's my point.
I'm not going to worry.
Benny, who's
I think that
defending
bringing light to it is important, and I really hope that these criminals...
But you seem to be making it seem like it doesn't matter as much because the victims are white, and I just don't think that's right. Not only do I think it's right, I think it's dangerous.
Here's the takeaway. Chris Cuomo is right about framing. When every story gets turned into a race story, people stop trusting anything. Benny Johnson keeps pushing that frame. Brian Tyler Cohen keeps pushing for facts and context. Most people just want safe streets and honest coverage. Not every ugly clip proves a grand plot. Some cases are hate crimes, prove it and charge it. Turning every case into "they're coming for us" just makes everyone more angry and less informed. Tonight, Brian Tyler Cohen looked steady. Benny Johnson leaned on the same talking points and dodged when pressed. Chris Cuomo even corrected that "tax white people" line on air. That says a lot. I want coverage that checks claims first and doesn't bait you with fear. What do you think? Drop your take in the comments, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.